studies in technical, like that is a diploma. Most of us are coming from background of diploma only, but he excelled to a greater extent to BTech from JNTU and MTech from JNTU, PhD from JNTU, and he rose a greatest position in JNTU now in academic background of 30 years of experience as a faculty and having an administrative jobs in a greater heights. He, when I know him, he was the admissions director. Then he was promoted to registrar. Hope we may have to see him in a greatest position of the university very soon. I wish him. Apart from this, the awards and rewards he received a lot because of his dedication and passion towards the education and supporting the student community. Uh, when I met him regarding the Rotary, I can see his enthusiasm to support the student community by large to more than 3 lakh students in JNTU and affiliated colleges. He was talking only about how we can support the Rotary, with the Rotary to the student community. Really, it's an amazing your interaction with you, sir, yesterday and day before yesterday as well. And he received the highest award from the state government, that is Best Teacher Award and Meritorious Teacher Award in 2016. Apart from that, he is a member in many other organizations like life member in ISTE and Combustion Institute, IEOM, and International Society. Apart from that, to his credentials, he is a part of the many books authored along with other his students and other people as well. And what more I can tell about him? One
Thank
thing I
you.
can say that definitely he will be an big asset and big support to not only the student community, to our Rotary as well. And he immediately accepted my request to associate with Rotary for our future projects like Emergex. We wish with his kind acceptance, we may collaborate with JNTU in a bigger way. Now over to Manjur Hussain sir. Now all time is yours for next 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your nice words. Really, I'm very delighted to be with you today evening. I'm very honored to be invited for this inaugural session. The dignitaries and eminent professional personalities from the different background, and probably when next I think we will be having some more interaction with you. So I take this opportunity to give my from JNTU on behalf of my JNTU. I thank every one of you for giving an opportunity for a new university to join with you in this program. So I think respected participants from the different institutes, maybe different professional backgrounds, for this artificial intelligence webinar being conducted by that Rotaryx, and from your contributing to the society in a different ways. Being a pandemic situation, you are making use of the technology available, and you are imparting very new topics, emerging topics to the professional engineers. Really, I appreciate your efforts for conducting such a the programs in the emerging areas in artificial intelligence and other new technical requirements for the present society. As you know, the JNTU University, a technological university, recently for this academic year, we have started around 6 new BTech programs, which includes BTech in artificial intelligence and machine learning, BTech in cyber security, BTech in blockchain systems, BTech in networking, and I think another couple of programs. I think totally 6 new programs we have introduced for this academic year. All these programs are under the domain of computer science. We got a very good response for artificial intelligence and machine learning and cyber security. So many students they have shown the interest to take the admission into these new programs. Apart from this, already we have this BTech in computer science and BTech in IT. They are also doing very good. So because of the new technologies and the new emerging areas, these are some professional areas where lot of requirement is there, employment is there, and the students are also looking for the new developments in this area. So I thank every one of you, the entire team, for selecting artificial intelligence as a topic for this today's program, which will be a present requirement. For the past two months, we are trying to educate our faculty to teach these subjects. So we have conducted a 4 weeks program on artificial intelligence and cyber security, and around some 800 faculty members, they have got trained throughout India. That is also online. We have a faculty development, a separate wing is there in our university, and which is funded by the UGC. Under that particular umbrella, we have taken up these programs, and we train the faculty so that they can take the classes for the students in the next academic year, which is about to start from the 1st December. And I think this topic is also very much useful to faculty for improving their skills and knowing the new things in the area of this artificial intelligence. So I take this opportunity to thank all the participants, and you got a good opportunity to learn certain new things from the experts in the field of artificial intelligence. And I think this will going to give you the confidence in the subjects, to understand the basics of this artificial intelligence, how the subject is being useful for the years to come in the new technology. I thank every one of you. Please excuse me, because actually I have not have any interaction directly with you, but your I mean permission for me to be with you, and I felt very happy to be with you. And really, it's a very nice occasion to meet every one of you. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and accepting it at a very short notice. I appreciate all your support.
Thank you, sir. You can continue as long as you can. You are free now.
Yeah, we wish you can
with us.
Okay.
We request you can stay back for the separate
I think Dr. A.N. Rao garu, Professor, you are from
Rotary
A.N.
Club.
Rao garu, please introduce yourself just to Manjur Hussain garu.
Dr. Manjur Hussain, such a pleasure to have you here. My name is A.N. Rao. I'm the president of Rotary Club of Cyberabad, one of the sponsors of this program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Professor Divakar Reddy garu.
I am from Rotary Club of Secunderabad West.
Nice.
Club of Secunderabad West, the host club of this seminar. Great meeting you all. In fact, Samir ji and you, I think you made us our day. In fact, you are interacting with all our Rotarian students.
Nice to meet you, sir.
All the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we have with us Mr. S.K. Gangwal. Nice meeting you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So I request you to stay back as far as you are
please.
comfortable.
I'll be online. I'll be listening some of this your talk also, sir.
Yeah, because we have a fantastic speaker, Samir Dhanranjani. He will hear his introduction now. So over to you, A.N., for his introduction of the speaker. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Manjur Hussain, all fellow Rotarians, Rotaractors, and all other audience members. It's such a pleasure to introduce the speaker for this afternoon, Samir Dhanranjani, CEO of AI Curate, a specialized advisory and consulting firm in the space of artificial intelligence. Samir is a highly respected industry professional, a globally recognized advisor in the area of AI, a 4-time TEDx speaker. Believe me, that's not easy. A moderator and speaker at several global industry forums and conferences. Believe me, he is such a joy to listen to. He does such an exceptional job of demystifying technology through storytelling. That's not a combination you often run into. He is the author of a best-selling book, AI and Analytics, Accelerating Business Decisions. And he has been the series editor of Wiley Innovation Black Book 2019 and 2020, it's an amazing editorial effect. You must read those. They're available on Amazon. He's a prolific blogger and writes regularly for Forbes, Business World, etc. on AI strategy and consulting. Samir is a globally recognized as an advisor, business builder, and a thought leader known for his depth of knowledge and strategic consulting approaches in the AI space. He has a rich and proven experience of building and scaling AI business and practices, securing really large AI engagements, and creating significant client impact. Recently, Samir was highlighted in the top emerging voices of India at number 9 by Your Story, and has been recognized amongst the top influential AI leaders by Forbes Council, NASSCOM, Predictive Analytics World, and was awarded by NASSCOM as India's youngest country head in global capability centers. Congratulations, Samir. Known for his passion for AI, Samir has a huge following on social media and is a well-recognized keynote expert. He's been frequently quoted across business media and news publications, and is a recipient of multiple awards and recognition. He is on AI steering committee member at NASSCOM and CII, and he's also an AI advisor with various state governments. He is instrumental in leading the effort to position India as a premier destination for AI. That's not easy. He's a trusted advisor with leading academic institutions and startups. Armed with an MBA from IIM Bangalore, Strategic Management Program from London Business School, and Digital Innovation and Design Program from MIT, Samir has had an exceptionally fast-track career spanning 23 years in various leadership roles, offering strategic consulting and advisory services to Fortune 500 clients, global capability centers, startups in various domains. That's truly a stunning academic record, great career, and an amazing mind. Prior to starting AI Curate, Samir was the Chief Strategy Officer at Fractal Analytics, responsible for building their strategic roadmaps, incubating their newer capabilities that put Fractal on a path of rapid growth trajectory. Before that, he was a global leader for analytics and data sciences business at Cognizant Technology, a $16 billion Fortune 100 global enterprises. Under his leadership, Cognizant Analytics business became a market player in the analytics market space with over 3,500 consultant and analytic professionals, serving 180 clients globally, and they executed over 3,000 consulting engagements. Prior to that, Samir was a country head at Fidelity National Financial and pioneered India's first global capability center and developed Fidelity India into a hub of customer delight, delivery innovation, and operations excellence. And before that, he was Vice President Analytics at Genpact. Honestly, that's one amazing career path anyone would give an arm and leg for. Very, very impressive, Samir. Great to have you here. All that apart, Samir has been an amazing friend, a personal and professional relationship I'm enormously proud of. He's quick-witted and a great storyteller. Such an honor to be hosting him this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming Samir to this edition of Emergex. I'm sure he'll make this afternoon very special for all of us with his theme, Decoding Artificial Intelligence, the sought-after and future-proof career opportunity. With that, Samir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ian, for a very generous and kind introduction. And it's a pleasure always, I would say, being on the forums here where you invite me. Now, that's a different thing. I cannot say no to you, which goes, I would say, on a mutual side altogether. But lovely to have that kind of a, let's say, relationship. And thanks, Anil, for facilitating this session. I think in the next 45 odd minutes or so, and we'll have a Q&A section post that, my attempt over here is actually to demystify the biggest ever talked about thing called artificial intelligence. And I must tell, as it happens for everything which has a lot of appeal, a lot of, I would say, resonance, a lot of bites on the social media, there is always something called commoditization which happens. And here in this case, what's happening? When we talk about AI, everyone has a different understanding, different flavor, and a different perception of what is this all about. But here, in the next 45 minutes, I'll make an attempt on two fronts. Why this particular opportunity called AI is not only an opportunity for enterprises, organizations, for academic institution, but it's an opportunity of a lifetime for humanity as well as for countries and geographies as well. Now, as I speak, 38 countries are conceptualizing AI policy for their respective nations. Either they've already conceptualized, they've already created, or they're on the verge of creating. And by far, this is touted as the biggest revolution after the software revolution we've gone through. The second thing, in our own backyard, India, we have technology, a very vibrant technology segment. It's almost equivalent to about $175 billion on an export revenues. And it's growing sequentially at 6 to 8% in terms of compounded annual growth. Now, this is revealing. Now, the studies have been done. In the next 5 years, AI alone as a segment is bound to cross $100 billion. And then the next decade, we are talking about almost this sector of AI alone eclipsing or superpassing the whole IT segment altogether. And there is a reason why we are talking about this thing. And this is exactly what I would like to share as a part of the slides. What I've done also as part of the slide sharing, I've taken a lot of examples. I've worked in the past in the industry, and also some of these examples are in the public domain. And the whole idea is to just kind of broadcast something which we believe is an opportunity of a lifetime. So I'll just take 15 seconds to share the slides. And please let me know once the slides are up.
You're on, Samir.
Okay, great. I'll shift to the slideshow mode. Okay, straight away jumping, and I always believe that something which is recent, topical, always stays in mind. Just yesterday, I was reading the news that Amazon has actually made the biggest ever foreign direct investment of $2.7 billion in Telangana. And nothing better to start a video from Amazon. I'll just play that and see how this video is all about AI in a very simple and a very, I would say, elementary term.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Well, that's the magic, what I call, of AI. When it works, it creates wonders. And seemingly, I think there are more applications which I'll showcase, and we'll talk about what AI can do. But one misconception which I want to really debunk, demystify at the very beginning is often AI is considered to be a very expensive, a complex, and kind of a, let's say, a very, very kind of a, let's say, I mean, different technology. I mean, people say, look, we cannot actually use it. It's very, very kind of a, let's say, difficult to kind of see how it can be adopted for the masses because it's for a particular section. Let me start with the narrative, and this is a real life story in the public domain. This is a story about a gentleman who's standing at the back of the picture, the young looking guy. Makato. Makato is born and bred up in Japan. And in Japan, he did his engineering, and when he returned back from doing his engineering, he met his parents, and that's where this particular picture is taken. Now, in Japan, agriculture is considered to be a very revered, sought after occupation, and Makato parents are into cucumber farming, and cucumber is a very sought after crop in Japan, and it's sold in the auction market every week with about 8 variables or 8 varieties sorted by texture, color, and various other dimension. And they've been growing cucumber for years. And Makato was very happy returning home when he did his engineering. One of the conversation after he met his parents got him thinking. His mother told Makato that over the years, their income from growing cucumbers have come down, and they are struggling to make the ends meet. And this is where Makato was a bit worried and concerned. And he had studied a bit of, I would say, AI in his engineering days. And he said, maybe I should put this particular to use to solve what I can do for my parents. So he went back to his farm. Through his iPhone, he clicked about 3,000 to 4,000 pictures of the cucumbers at the farm, various dimensions, angle. He clicked the pictures, and he went back to his home. At his laptop, through Amazon, he purchased a Raspberry Pi 3 processor, which is for about $35. And then he downloaded a Google TensorFlow tool, which is freely available. It's an open source tool, exactly to build what we call a deep learning algorithm. Then he labeled and annotated the images, what he has taken, and then started working on an algorithm in terms of correlating with the auction prices of the cucumbers. Couple of trials, experimentation, and he could reach to 30-40% accuracy, and he tried again until he reached about 70-75% accuracy. He went back to his parents and told them what specific variety of cucumber they should be growing. 18 months down the line, his parents' income went up by 400%, and the cost associated of using AI was just $35. That's a Raspberry Pi 3 processor, what he had purchased. So imagine how AI actually, when it works for the masses, it produces kind of a results in something which is magical. Now, when we look at this foundation, why AI is so much into prominence today, why it's taking kind of a, let's say, very top of the mind share, whether we talk about academia, enterprises, nations, there is a foundational aspect which is about data. I call this particular thing around called data detonation and digital deluge, because so much is the velocity of data. By the time I put up the slide, it's already obsolete. Now, let me just give you what I'm talking about, a sense. On the right side, as you see some numbers, 1 zettabyte. By the way, we're talking about generating globally 44 zettabyte of data, but 1 zettabyte of data is equivalent to all the video titles of the Netflix put together, multiplied by 370 million times. That's 1 zettabyte of data we are talking about. And if that's not enough, there is a social and also what we call unstructured data. The kind of streaming which is happening through the uploads and downloads on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is amazing. Now think of this situation today. When we're talking about any enterprise today across any segment, life sciences to healthcare to manufacturing, or let's say FMCG to retail, can they ignore, one, the proprietary data which is getting created in their organization, and second, the social data which can actually give a new dimension in terms of how their customers should be positioned in terms of new product and services? The answer would be, of course, they have to leverage something which is called AI today. Now, again, as I say that there are various definitions, connotations, various acronyms associated with AI analytics kind of a thing. And this industry has been there for the last 20 odd years in India, and has seen a lot of, I would say, genre changes or name changes kind of a thing. Now, just to make things a bit simpler for everyone's kind of, let's say, understanding, I've just tried to kind of put that in an analogy of a car. While this is a US left-hand side kind of a car, but it will make some set of things what I'm talking about in terms of similarities. Now think of this: when we sit inside the car and we look from a left-hand side mirror, you can see the cars approaching. You can also see how many cars are coming, which in the terminology or the parlance of analytics AI world, it's about regular MIS, a reporting which is meaningful, but you can't gauge the distance of the car through a rear view mirror. And that's a challenge or a kind of a, let's say, limitation. Now, when you are looking inside the car, there is a dashboard, and within the dashboard there are various instruments which are trying to what we call make some data mining, statistical analysis, and doing some kind of a data extraction and massaging. So now you can see what's the speed of the car, what kind of a, let's say, gear shift you are taking the car into, what's the kind of a, let's say, speed of the windshield in terms of the operations and other parameters. Now, this is where the data has started making some sense, but it's still far away from something what we call one single source of truth, which is where something has come in which is unique. And today, many of the cars are fitted with Google Maps. And that's something which we call a single source of truth. So when you start your journey at the beginning of the day, you put the origination and the destination, then the entire commute in terms of the kilometers and the time duration comes in, and the time duration with the help of the algorithm changes every minute, on a real-time basis. Now, this is where you can preempt and start taking decisions to manage your schedule, manage your day, and manage your entire kind of, let's say, work schedule. And this is where eventually AI, artificial intelligence, is all about. How do you help take decisions using a lot of these data, quant, and other kind of, let's say, techniques and all. Now, but as we say that data inherently is dumb, I mean, what's the point of generating so much of data when you can't make meaning out of it? And somewhere there is something what I call unique, which is algorithms, which is where the real value resides. And I'll talk about what I mean in terms of this magic of algorithms. But actually speaking, while algorithms could be the set of code or looking into making some patterns, algorithms are simplifying what I call generating insights, intelligence, and recommendation for the clients and stakeholders or any kind of a problem scenario. And as we also say, now some of these companies, as you look into, I would say everyone knows about what Google does, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and all. But many of you may not be aware that the secret sauce of these set of companies are IPable patented algorithms which are doing the trick. And that's why for some of you, these companies may be digital, asset-light, new age companies. For me, I call them math houses because of the robust set of algorithms which are creating a new level of growth and scalability for these companies and much beyond. Now, as we see today, while we are all going through this pandemic, but the world moves very fast, the fact today is that industries, be it banking, insurance, life sciences, media, entertainment, actually they have started taking few notches up on AI adoption. I mean, every part of the business value chain today is getting impacted by AI. When we talk about media and entertainment, the whole customer experience is being filtered in terms of what kind of movies, serials, or shows they are looking at. Manufacturing, the whole concept of smart factory is coming into the picture, where devices will stream data and data will throw results to the manufacturers to plan their inventory, their logistics, and their stocks and everything. And banks, of course, we all know that today how fintechs today are challenging bank in terms of really looking at what I call reimagining the entire banking industry. And that's where, when we talk about the significance, adoption, applications, usages of AI, it's growing multifold. And that's where opportunities for students, for working professionals, for government, for enterprises is growing multifold. Now, as we also say, behind all this kind of, let's say, euphoria, buoyancy, positive aspects kind of a thing, there is also a kind of, let's say, issue about ethics, algorithms not being able to kind of getting regulated, data privacy. And we've seen those cases kind of a thing where fake news is being generated with the usage of algorithms. And this in our own world, we call rogue algorithms or algorithms which gets drifted. While, of course, there is always this debate about creating equivalent laws on the privacy, like we have like GDPR. But having said that, I think, of course, this industry needs that regulation, but the success factors, the advantages, and the possibilities far more exceed the downside we have in terms of the AI. But going back now again to something what I call really elementary, what exactly is artificial intelligence? Now, as I keep on saying, 18 of my 23 years of professional experience have been spent in analytics stroke AI. And I remember the first job I had post my management, it was with Gillette. And at that point of time, there was something called MIS, Management Information System, a report which the CEO used to look at daily basis, used to make some understanding. It was a one-pager report capturing the key financial data, the production, the different kind of volumes of the different SKUs, and he was trying to make a different, rather meaning in terms of what this particular data means. That particular phase of MIS got shifted to ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. For the first time, the business functions, marketing, finance, HR, supply chain, operation data started getting consolidated, and the daily P&L was getting generated. Then came, with the advent of big data, a series of what I call a slew of business intelligence data warehousing tool, Cognos, Teradata, MicroStrategy. The tools were very adept in terms of aggregating the data, because for the first time, everyone started realizing the value in terms of capturing the data. Then post BIDW, we had this whole genre of what we call analytics, descriptive to prescriptive, which is what I talked about in terms of how the decision needs to be taken. Then came data science, and then now we are talking about AI. Now, the fact over there is that it's not a new tool, application, or technology. We've all seen how Alan Turing created that supercomputer kind of a situation. But of course, now with the quantum techniques going up in terms of capturing the data, the velocity of the data, and how the algorithms have become sophisticated, it's going to a next level. Now, simply speaking, if I put AI, we are trying to mimic the human brain. The ability of the brain to process, act, learn, and perceive is nothing but what we call image, voice, text, and video side of the things. Now, think of this. How if we start processing more data around image, voice, text, and video, it will start replicating what we are trying to understand or trying to kind of work around in terms of a problem, or in terms of kind of creating a situation which can be solved using AI. And let me explain in the further slides with the examples. Now, this is where, when we say the fact today is that, and this is a bit provocative, but that's how the world operates, because if there is no provocation, no nudging, I think we'll all be just very, very, I would say, comfortable in terms of what we are doing. The fact over there is that AI performance is actually outscoring or outpacing human performance today. Alexa from Amazon, when it was launched in India a few years back, everyone was aware the kind of horrendous errors it was making in terms of the speech recognition. Huge error rates kind of a thing. And today, not only it's learned in terms of understanding our dialects, our accents, it's actually getting launched in 15 to 16 different languages across India. And the error rates have drastically come down. Now, the middle of the slide, what you see, AlphaGo Zero, and some of you are aware about this chess machine, which is funded by Google DeepMind. Now, the AlphaGo Zero, AlphaGo Zero machine, which has crunched the data from all the previous chess games and all. Now, to give an example in terms of, can someone go? I think there is a background noise.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'll mute all and. You can unmute and speak, Samir. Thank you.
Hope I'm audible, Anil.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, great. Now, AlphaGo Zero, just to give a distinction in terms of the prowess and the expertise and the what I call the velocity of this machine, our own chess grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand, and he's damn good in playing a chess. When he plays a game of chess, he can possibly think in terms of a 200 to 250 permutation combination of the moves, what the next opponent may take before the next opponent takes a move. 200 to 250 kind of possible permutation combination. AlphaGo Zero can think about 400 million possible moves in terms of permutation and combination. So you can imagine the kind of great leap it has taken to defeat the best of the grandmaster. Now, there is a theory which today is coming to the picture, which is how artificial intelligence will start influencing or really kind of creating some changes in terms of how we take decisions. And let me tell you what this theory is all about. Uh, as an average human being, we take about 64, 65 decisions on an average out on a given day. Strategic, operational, tactical. What is that I have to do after this session? What's my plan over the weekend? What's my plan for Diwali? What's my career aspiration? Now, some of these decisions we are taking on a daily basis. Now, think of this, majority of the decisions what we are taking until today have been influenced by our friends, colleagues, and spouses. That's a fact. But the way the whole world is operating, how we consuming, transacting, and how we are trying to kind of absorb information or interacting with a lot of, I would say, instruments, devices, and machine. In the time to come, majority of our decisions will be taken by artificial intelligence algorithms. Now think of this today when we buy something from Amazon, how often we have seen when we are buying sneakers, an adjacent category of loafer shoes come in, they give us 30% discount and we buy that, an impulse kind of a thing. I mean, the way we transact, getting influenced by what needs to happen in terms, all these things are resulting with the back end of algorithms which are doing this trick and influencing our decision making process. Now, think of this, when algorithms start influencing our decision making, what starts happening, and with the advancement what AI will go through in the time to come, I'll show you now some example what it means in terms of the next level. But before I come to that, just to kind of paraphrase what I talked about, there are three aspects about this AI, what we are talking about. Why AI is such a rage, why it's being talked about. One, because it starts making customers at the center. We all know today how personalization, recommendation becomes the in thing for the companies to start suggesting personalized, bespoke, very, very intimate product and services for the customers. Second, companies are now compelled to innovate product and services on the go, what we call agile or breakthrough innovation. I mean, why Tesla is successful? Not, of course, because of the electric cars. From the time they conceive any model of a car to the time it rolls out the first model on the assembly line, it takes them 14 to 15 months. Any classic manufacturer like Ford, Nissan, Volvo takes 4 years to kind of do this particular thing. So you can imagine what it takes in terms of a breakthrough radical innovation. Transformation of the business is the biggest thing today. I think we are sitting at a cusp where the deconstruction of the value chain is happening across business. One example, let's say when we talk about banking, few years back when we used to apply for a credit card, let's say from ICICI or HDFC Bank, from the time you pick up a phone to call up a customer care associate to the time you land up a card, if everything goes well, it used to be about 16 steps and 28 days turnaround time. 16 steps and 28 days turnaround time. Today, with the advent of artificial intelligence, chatbots, RPA coming in, the entire process has been truncated to 3 steps from the time you pick up the phone and just 4 to 5 working days if everything goes well. So that's where I think the transformation of the business is happening all across in the entire value chain. Now think of this as we look at these applications. You will not see techniques, formulas, algorithms in these applications. AI is hidden, but AI is where the magic lies in terms of the secret sauce. Let me start with the first example. On the left, side of this screen. The example is not about Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, every public listed company does an earnings call, as we know, financial projection calls. And these calls are led by the CEO. And as you know today, at least with all due regards, I have not seen a earnings call where the CEO has not been positive about the company today. I've always seen CEO talking about, oh, our company is going in that direction. It's a robust sequential growth, but the stock shows a different story. We also should realize that there's a lot of money at stake, hedge funds, PE, VC firms, individual shareholders, and they cannot just think about looking at the CEO and looking at his commentary to make a decision. So what's happening today? A lot of AI is being done to understand the financial earnings. Now think of this scenario today when the CEO is on the stage. His or her entire voice modulation is being understood from a speech recognition techniques to see if there is any lump in the throat, if there is any weakness in the voice, and because that could be certain signs of weakness. And more than that, then his or her entire facial expressions are being studied. So any kind of crow's feet or any kind of, let's say, facial expression which is not in sync with the voice could be a sign that the CEO is not really kind of bullish about the company. But the fact over there is that the CEOs are smart, they're well tutored and well rehearsed. They can fake their emotions. But AI goes beyond that. So think of this financial commentary is happening by the CEO. So CEO is at the stage, and at the back of the CEO, there are chief compliance officer, legal head, CMO, CFO, and all. So this time the CEO is again very bullish, and he or she is making a lot of positive things about the company. But at the same time, through the visual computer vision techniques, the CFO, the camera moves to the CFO, and CFO is maintaining a straight poker-faced expression. Think of this, all this extra correlation happening on a real-time basis. It could be an indication that things are not in sync and maybe the company is not projecting what it should. So it's more like what we call look beyond the obvious data sources. And that's happening because of AI. 10 years before, this particular thing wouldn't have been possible because we never had that image processing or speech recognition techniques or kind of, I would say, the algorithms available. On the right side, this is a plain, simple satellite imagery of US retail giant, the parking lot. Now, some of you, your first reaction would be, we are trying to measure the footfalls. Now, that's a formula which is of the past. Now, what this particular retail giant is trying to do, they're trying to look from a satellite imagery data of the 2,000 stores they have across US. They're trying to look at data points like what's the make of the car, the model of the car, the total time each of the cars have been parked, and then trying to extrapolate those data points in terms of understanding what their financial earnings could be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now. So that's the advancement which is going in terms of capturing new data point. Now, thing which amazes me is today that while we are all talking about the vaccine which should come in very fast, but let's also realize that no blockbuster drug by any single manufacturer in pharmaceutical world has been launched in less than 5 years. Of course, now we have sophisticated clinical trial, genome kind of sequencing techniques, so results may be faster. But the fact over there is that there is one thing which is happening, which is getting revolutionized using AI, and that sector is the radiology sector in healthcare. Now think of this, COVID as a symptom enters through chest. Now, as a part of this entire thing, in the chest, there could be 15 to 16 elements or symptoms which can go wrong. And what needs to be done to find these elements or symptoms? You go to a radiologist and he or she asks you to get an X-ray, MRI, or CT scan. Now today, because of the COVID, all the radiologists are stressed out, overexerted, and they can make an error because they take about 15 to 20 minutes to analyze an X-ray, CT scan, or MRI. Deep learning algorithms, millions of X-rays, CT scans, and images can be processed with an accuracy rate of 99% today. Companies like Cure.ai, Zebra, Neramai.ai, and the whole thing is not just restricted to the chest, knee, diabetic kind of a symptoms. All these things are trying to revolutionize healthcare to the next level. Let's look at this video clip, please.
Baseman! 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 Let's go, Rock. Let's go. Over here, over here. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Try. Get at it. Good touch. Something quick throw. Hit it.
Now, some of you who are fans of US soccer, and this is a Super Bowl match final equivalent to our own IPL final, which soon should be happening. Close to about $160 billion of ad spend happens in one single match. One TV commercial cost about $3.5 to $4 million. Imagine the kind of money getting spent on marketing or just creating a visibility of the brand. And many brands would like to position themselves in this particular match. But at the end of the day, the match has a certain appeal, and brands and their images may get missed. Now, this is where something called marketing mix attribution technique is being used using live video feeds. And this is how the next sequence looks like when you see the live video feed. And look at the right hand side how the brand starts coming in when the labeling and annotation of the data happens.
Baseman! 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 Let's go, Rock. Let's go. Over here, over here. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Try. Get at it. Good touch. Something quick throw. Hit it.
So now you can make a kind of a deduction in terms of how anything on the jersey of the player, in terms of logo, anything on the turf of the stadium, players gallery, you can all see those brands getting labeled and annotated. And this is the same technique which Makato used as part of the cucumber farming in the beginning. But this is where getting that entire thing as a part of marketing mix attribution, using those sophisticated kind of computer vision technique can actually let you know what brands were visible for what kind of a duration and frequency. Now, somewhere, I think the first reflection of this particular slide would be maybe it's a slide from a Matrix movie or a CCTV camera image where there is some trespassing or mugging involved. Well, it's a CCTV camera image, but this is actually a case, a use case of HR. Now, think of this. This is a live case study, in fact, I've worked upon. This is a CCTV camera image of an e-commerce warehouse, which is located in the outskirts of Beijing, China. And at any given point of time, it's a large warehouse. Millions of transactions are happening, and there are about 3,000 plus employees which are working in this warehouse. Stress is high. There is a high octane kind of activity, and a lot of activities happening. And CCTV cameras, of course, are there to see if there is any trespassing or mugging. But at the same time, to look at the images, HR managers are sitting alongside. So what they're trying to see is the fatigue level of the employees. Now, through the computer vision techniques, they're trying to see at what point of time the fatigue goes optimal, because there could be a dip in production, employees as showing those signs of fatigue. And when the sum total of that fatigue quotient goes up at any given point of time, they go on the floor, pause the production, call those employees who are showing that levels of fatigue, high level of fatigue, give them pat on the back awards, spot awards, go back and resume the operations and the production. Now, in the usual HR side of the world or companies, the pat on the back awards or HR awards are being given only when the CEO is in town or there is a town hall. And it's very darkish. This is a live case where it can result into a lot of motivation and an instant gratification for the employees. I'll skip this. Sorry, I repeated this particular thing. Let's look at this particular example. And this is an example which is close to my heart and what I call how AI works for humanity on a magic basis. Now, this is again a real story which is in the public domain. This is a story about a gentleman who's on the right hand side, Saqib Sheikh. Saqib is born and bred up in Pakistan, and 10 years back he moved to US. Saqib, since his birth, is visually impaired. He cannot see. And when he moved to US after a few years, he got a job at Microsoft. And in the earlier days of his job at Microsoft, he was having uh, uh, coffee with his colleagues, and some of his colleagues said, "Saqib, let's make your life magical." And this got Saqib a bit ticked off. He was very angry. He said, "Guys, I cannot see. I'm visually impaired, so there's nothing magical in my life." They said, "Okay, hang on for some time." After 6 months, they gave Saqib a pair of glasses. Now you can see the Saqib, what he's wearing are those pair of glasses. Now these are not ordinary pair of glasses. Whenever now Saqib steps out to meet his friends, colleagues, or go to the office or meet his neighbors, he wears these set of glasses. The glasses have innate ability to click pictures on the go. Now your first reaction would be, what's the meaning of pictures for a person who cannot see? You're right. Now, Saqib is clicking pictures now, as you can see on the left end with his left index finger on the stem of the glasses. But pictures are getting translated on a real time basis into voice. And what you cannot see is what he's hearing. I mean, wearing those ear pods on the right hand side. And this is what now Saqib can actually hear. That Saqib, 10 to 15 meters ahead of you, there is probably a 15 to 16-year-old kid wearing a beige trouser, navy blue jersey, black sneakers on a skateboard. Would you like to meet him? Imagine the life of Saqib with the advent of image, voice, text, and video coming together, and it's becoming now magical. 7,000 deaths happen in US alone because of wrong prescription of medicine. Chemist, as we call it, druggists as they call in US. Now, wrong prescription of drugs or medicine in US is a big challenge. $14 billion lawsuits are getting filed. Now, with all due regards, the main reason attributed around this is doctors' writing is very illegible. I'm sure whenever you've gone in with a prescription, you can't make out what the doctors have written in terms of prescription, and sometimes chemists also make mistakes. Now, this particular pharmacy chain in US, which is situated in Union Square, San Francisco in California, what they've done, they've deployed a robotic arm which is fitted with AI technique. And this is what the robotic arm does. When you enter the front end of the store, you're greeted by this robotic arm. She takes your prescription. She scans the prescription, links the patient data of that prescription with the previous records, because in US, as you know, patient data records are linked. She goes through the whole aisle of the store, picks up the relevant medicine, come to the front end of the store. You can pay by contactless credit card, and the entire transaction can be done with an accuracy rate of 99.9% in 90 to 120 seconds. Now, this is where a lot of these advancements are happening on the healthcare side as well. Moving on to the manufacturing, this is I would say, kind of a eureka thing, but today devices, machines, instruments are fitted with sensors. They are streaming data, they're talking to each other, and this is where the wear and tear of the parts can determine at what level it needs to be replaced by manufacturers, OEM, or the suppliers. Last year, this incident happened where in Japan, where we have the bullet trains which are traveling at 300, 250 kilometers per hour speed. One of the coach, or rather one of the doors of one of the coaches of the bullet train, the door did not shut for 4 minutes, and the train was traveling at 250 kilometers. Fortunately, no fatalities happened, but when the RCA was done, the sensor was not activated. So if the sensor would have been activated, it would have streamed the data back to the manufacturer in terms of any wear and tear. Now, as we say that, sometimes it's not just about my aspect of giving some of these examples was not about, machines will replace human, because there's a lot of debate about all this jobs getting displayed by AI or machine. I think at some level, what we're talking about in the aspect of automation, it's about rebalancing the human machine equation. And our most favorite guy, even Elon Musk, realized that because he was betting big on automation. But when Tesla floundered on the deliveries, this is what he did as part of the tweet. And we know that he runs his company through tweets. Excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, his mistake, humans are underrated. And that's where I think it's coming to all in terms of rebalancing human machine equation. Now, there is also another thing today that we are not just saying it has to be artificial intelligence. Sometimes the best of the algorithms, best of the models, best of the technology fails because it needs to be adopted by the humans. And humans are predictably irrational. And I'm not saying that they are predictably irrational. There is a gentleman called Dan Ariely. He had written this book. And the fact over there, which beautifully capture, is that we also need some other aspects to run the algorithm to ensure it's adopted. Now, case in point, and I worked on this project, Oral-B, which is famous for oral hygiene, toothbrushes, and other products. They did everything to create a good kind of, let's say, sense about increasing the sale of their toothbrushes. Nothing happened until they realized something which is unique, and this is part of this case study. An idle brushing time for anyone is about 2 minutes. 2 minutes in idle brushing time. And for many of us who are in this call who have kids, realize kids have a hard time brushing for 2 minutes. Forget about 2 minutes, I think it will be less than a minute. Now think of this situation where the brushing behavior needs to be driven. So what Oral-B did, they created a brush which had a sensor. No big deal. Many of the devices today, instruments, machine have sensors, but the brush, this IoT sensor brush comes with an app. You can download this app on your mobile. Now, when your kid start brushing in the morning, he or she is brushing the teeth. Anything less than 2 minutes, you can see on the visual dashboards on the right-hand side where all the brush has gone in terms of the contours of the teeth. In the middle, it's about the total time which the kid has taken to brush. On the left-hand side is about the goals which is reached or not. Anything less than 2 minutes, there is a screeching, frowning kind of, let's say, noise on your mobile with a very, very kind of a fuming emoji. You show it to the kids, and they will, of course, not like it because now we know today how much our life is governed by emojis and emoticons. You show it to the kid, he or she will say, okay, let me brush again. Anything more than 2 minutes, the emoji turns happy. There is a jingle on the mobile app, and now your kid is happy to take online classes. Now, that's a different thing. This brush now is being used more by adults. 2 minutes is a very big brushing time. This ice cream manufacturer again used the best of the AI techniques, and at some point of time they realized it's not working out. Campaigns to increase the sale of the ice cream, loyalty coupons, discount, a lot of media ads, until they said something needs to be done. Then they did this. So just playing this jingle, now of course this is a UK store. In India, we know that the jingle of an ice cream wala coming in has a different tone or a kind of a music altogether. But just playing this jingle in the part of the store, a lot of consumers were drawn toward this part of the store and they started picking up the ice cream. In 1 quarter alone, ice cream sales went up by 30% with just this jingle. Now, the fact is over there, God forbid, if someone has to go through this particular exercise, is agonizing. It's so claustrophobic to enter this particular area, and the machine itself is so daunting. 80% is the sedation rates among kids. Until some guy thought about this and created this kind of a design. Now, I'm sure someone who've not been there actually would just like to kind of test it out just for the fun of it. And now that 80% sedation rate came down to 10% only. Now, the reason I'm trying to show some of these examples is somewhere there is also this theory which needs to be propagated, broadcasted, and getting more familiarized that AI alone will not solve the problem. It's also about behavioral science, design thinking, and feature engineering coming together. And let's look at this particular case. I'm sure I don't need to explain this video. It's so I would say, propelling in terms of how computer vision comes along with behavioral science to create a nudge factor to deter pedestrian from not crossing the roads, kind of a thing. And this is something which has been tried in some of the countries, and the example has really worked. In terms of humans getting more educated. Now, two examples I want to give quickly, and Anil, I may stretch for 7 more minutes in terms of the last section I want to proceed with. So pardon me on this. Two examples, while many of you may realize, oh, I've taken examples from different countries. No, there is a great deal of things which are happening in our own backyard, India, and there's a lot of AI set of interventions that are happening. I want to take two examples which have been part. One is a work in progress, one which has already happened, which is AI and Swachh Bharat campaign. Now, the first reaction would be, what is Swachh Bharat campaign got to do with AI? Well, the fact is, yes, it's a very noble initiative on the part of the government to create restrooms in the remotest part of India. They have earmarked 12,000 crores to be spent under Swachh Bharat campaign to have very hygienic washrooms across India. Now, think of this, you are traveling to Assam, Dibrugarh, and one of the remotest area in Dibrugarh, you're using a washroom under Swachh Bharat campaign, and you did not like the quality of that washroom. In fact, one of the tile in the washroom is broken. Now, the washrooms which are constructed under Swachh Bharat campaign, once you step out, there is a WhatsApp number which is written in the front of that restroom. You take the picture of that broken tile and WhatsApp to that particular number. You don't have to mention any credential or any kind of location. The picture is labeled and annotated, goes to a AI command center which is situated in the remote district of Rajasthan called Barmer. And the moment the picture is received by this command center, since it's labeled and annotated, within 15 seconds of picture coming in, the command center professionals are able to decipher which was the location. And next 30 seconds, through an automated chat dialer, the concerned vendor or the contractor who has created this washroom, the call goes to him, asking him to fix the broken tile. The entire transaction is done using AI intelligence, intelligent automation in 90 seconds kind of a thing. And they get 60,000 calls every minute. Imagine if the same work would have been done by a BPM kind of a, let's say, segment, it would have taken 2,400 call center associate to be deployed on a monthly basis. This command center of AI is being run by 4 AI professionals in 2 shifts. So this is where, when we say how it's working out the best in Swachh Bharat campaign. The other thing on the side of AI, as AI has a knack to solve large, unresolved and big problems, we are talking about a problem which is humongous. In India, we are talking about judiciary system. By all due regards, it's very slow. There are 33 million legal cases in India which are pending in session courts, high courts, and supreme courts. 84% of these 33 million cases have an average pending period of 13 years, 13 years. So imagine what it takes to solve a case. And 74% of a lawyer's time goes into finding 524 Indian penal sections and subsections, almost three-fourths of us time. Now, what the government is trying to do is to create a Google-like NLP engine for the judicial professionals, where at the click of the button, whatever case they are trying to kind of go through or fight or are trying to get solved, they just, at the press of the button, they will be able to get all the previous history, work in progress of those cases at the press of a button. And now this will take out a lot of that daunting manual task, what is involved today in judicial litigation. And once it's done, it is bound to fast track the cases. As opposed to 13 years, it will come down drastically. Now, the last piece, what I want to take, which I want to spend quickly time, because I realize in the audience there are some aspirants, professionals who want to move into AI. Some quick, I would say, my own suggestions or whatever I've learned. AI is not just about learning tools, techniques, or algorithm. It's almost like a T-shaped kind of a learning. You need to understand the breadth of that particular discipline and going into the depth of ensuring that a particular problem is identified before it resolved. Each and every company have a different flavor in terms of looking at AI. Google looks at AI from an engineering mindset. Amazon looks at AI from an operational dexterity mindset. And Apple looks at AI from a design mindset. So always realize that AI is not just one particular face to everyone. The flavor changes in terms of the problem areas, how they want to solve. The other thing is that some of these things around what skills, competencies, attributes are required. Of course, one needs to be, I would say, if not strong, more hands on in terms of understanding statistics, operations, operational research, and I would say mathematics. Because at some level, if you have a fear for mathematics, it should go away, because many of these things needs exposure, not really getting your hands dirty. But having said that, the more robust you become on this, the better are the chances that you'll be able to grasp what problems needs to be solved using what areas of statistic. The second is, of course, for technology professionals, there is a huge set of AI libraries today. We're talking about TensorFlow to PyTorch to Snowflake and multiple tools. In fact, the total stack is about 2,800, but get used to something which is topical, those 3-4 different tools, which will give you an edge in terms of what's happening in terms of solving. And an approach about how do you bring, as I mentioned, image, voice, and text and video is very important, which means a conceptual understanding of what problem needs to be solved. Often AI professional gets blindsided with their blinkers on in terms of saying, oh, I've solved this problem using gradient boosting, neural network kind of techniques. I don't think so. That's what the end stakeholder is looking. They're looking how exactly the problem gets more into a situation where the impact comes in. And the last, which is often neglected, is as there are a lot of cases about the misuse of data, and majority of them have been because of the manual intervention, because somewhere we play with the data, we kind of beat the data, in terms of making that drift. So just like, as I say, in medicine, we have this Hippocratic oath where the doctors need to take. On the AI side, we always kind of believe that integrity in terms of not playing with the data should come foremost for any existing and aspirant professional. And this world is magical, as I say. Uh, there are 265 plus job families. It's a very different session if you have to take in terms of AI, but broadly, we are talking about data collation, which is about the aggregation of the data. And the second, third, and fourth from the bottom are the layers, what we call data mediation, which is about how the data needs to be harmonized, put into different buckets, and which is what we call data lakes. And today, the data lakes are also getting engineered with the creation of the best of the data pipes, as we say, and data pipes are hosted on the cloud. So there is a lot of these opportunities for data engineers and cloud architects which have come in. The fifth layer is about algorithms, which is now the best of the statistics techniques needs to come in. And the last is about visualization, the KPIs, dashboards, or that final report which you need to give to the end stakeholder, client, or to that particular person. And this is where we say it's something which is a very broad, expansive field, and it may differ, roles may differ in terms of business functions and domains as well.
The Brussels Motor Show, the biggest car event in Belgium, where all car brands show off their newest technologies. But it was Volvo who hijacked all the attention with the first car that could recruit its own technicians. Volvo presents the recruiting car.
Ik ben de HR90. Ik ben op zoek naar onderhoudstechnici voor de Volvo fabriek in Gent.
200 job openings were announced on social media, inviting everyone to come and check out the first car that recruits its own engineers. To conduct the interviews, we tapped into the car's technology.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview. Can you show me where my electric compressor is?
Sure. Yeah.
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I've been passionate about. By applying AI, we could actually test social and technical skills and make unbiased evaluations of all applicants. These were sent to Volvo's HR managers for further interviews. Changing the conversation from cars to jobs got us national media attention.
L'entretien d'embauche sera d'abord mené par un véhicule et par son intelligence artificielle.
70% of all news coverage about the Brussels Motor Show was dedicated to Volvo. More than 1 in 2 Belgians was reached through PR coverage alone, leading to 300% more price requests. And the 200 vacancies, well, they were all filled.
So this is the level of AI. We are talking about the future of AI. Maybe the next level would be the time we see ourselves in the screen could be the time where a potential employer may look at us using AI techniques. So never ignore who's watching you. That's something I had. Anil, my apologies for extending. There was a narrative and I could not miss some of that as part of the narrative. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Samir. I just realized, we have spent more than 50 minutes. I never knew that the time flew. So that speaks a lot about the engrossing presentation. In fact, I totally lost time, actually. It was really fantastic. So now we open up the session for the questions. Can use the chat window to ask you questions, and I would try to curate it to the speaker. After the Q&A, we'll have a small session, interactive session with our IIM Calcutta team who are doing the artificial intelligence powered marketing. Some of them have joined this program. So you please raise your blue hand, the virtual hand in Zoom, and give you an opportunity to speak so that we can interact with Samir and we can ask him the questions. Yeah, the first question for you, Samir. Yeah, sorry.
Anil, while we wait for the first question, can I just take a minute?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Awesome having you all. Samir, not surprised at all, and lovely session. There's just a little nugget that I want to share with you all. It's not that AI is something that's happening just in the industry, in the the MIT labs, etc. There is some amazing AI work happening right here in Rotary Club. For example, we have Uday Kumar on the call here. He's an executive director of AT&T. He heads AT&T in India. So Uday led some amazing work that's in the realm of a Rotary Club in the services. Samir, two beautiful use cases. One is he has done an amazing work on how to use AI to help people with autism and learning disabilities. The second one they did was actually work with the Dr. L.V. Prasad Eye Hospital to actually use AI and virtual reality headsets to help people in very, very remote places without access to the high-end the eye doctors to actually detect some eye problems early to prevent blindness. And third really relevant, and anyone wanting to do a happy school project, please reach out to Cyberabad. I'll connect you to Mr. Uday. We actually have an app, Samir, that actually uses AI/ML to actually learn from photographs of our school toilets to actually see if the toilets are being kept clean, because 70% of our girl child dropout rate in schools is actually because they don't see the privacy, they don't have a good toilet out there. So it's available, that app is available with us, anybody who wants to. So the point I wanted to make was right here in Rotary, there's a lot of work that we're doing in India, in Hyderabad, where we can use them for uplifting the the condition of human living and health. So please reach offline. I'll be very happy to connect to Uday from our club, who is also club chair for using artificial intelligence in service projects. Okay,
that's yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Anil. Back to you.
Yeah, there was a question like, why was AI not able to foresee the virus impact on the vaccine expedition of the vaccine?
Well, In fact, on the first thing, Anil, I beg to differ because if we go back and do some search on this, in October, one of the Australian AI company using a sentiment analysis engine was tweeting about a certain pneumonia which is coming into China. Of course, at that point of time, COVID word was not invented, and it was getting into the tweets where even the WHO was also tagged. Of course, no one could see the enormous velocity in terms of the spread. But it was actually getting into, I would say, as a early warning system into those kind of, let's say, engines which were sounding about this thing. Now, vaccine is a very different thing altogether. As I mentioned, there is a process, there is a modality, and despite using the best of the algorithms, using sequencing, genomics, and DNA sequencing, it does take time because FDA has those processes which are cumbersome, laborious, and it needs to be tried on humans in terms of the clinical trial. So I think that's is a separate process altogether, which will take some time.
Thank you. Yeah, the next question is, you mentioned about the Japanese farmer who had been able to build a AI system for his farm, cucumber farm, for just $35. If we need to do something like that, what is the education or the program we have to go through? Is it really possible for a common man with some basic knowledge to reach that level without a formal education in AI?
Well, that's a brilliant question, and I think a lot of efforts have been made today. In fact, I was glad to hear when the opening comments were being made that faculties are getting trained on AI in terms of exposure and immersion. I think there are two ways of looking at this. One is a conceptual level of understanding of AI, which is about some of these understanding of techniques around image, voice, text, and video side of the things, which I talked about. And second are those application areas. Unfortunately, as you see, we don't talk about the application areas more because we sometimes believe that maybe it's not happening and many of them are work in progress. In fact, all the applications, examples, use cases I demonstrated have been applied. And there has been a significant impact to the clients, nations, or society because of that. And I think that's something which needs to be broadcasted more, because when we blend this conceptual and contextual or the application use cases, then our propensity to look in terms of how we can apply in our own domain, industry, or work sphere will increase.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a question from KS Ramesh from Rotary Club of Guntur. Will it be possible to use AI in maintaining toilet in schools? Yes, sir. We have a live product developed by Rotary Club of Cyberabad in association with AT&T team. So you can connect with me or the president of Cyberabad, A.N. Rao, and we can give you a demonstration. And we're planning to make it a part of the Happy School program also in all the rural schools. So we'll connect later and we'll discuss on that. So the next question to you, Samir. How do you see the government's using AI in resolving issues? And wouldn't it compromise the data security like, the recent Arogya Setu app?
Well, I think first of all, so I have some friends who are working with Niti Aayog, and I was talking to them. There is no compromise issue, first of all, in Arogya Setu app. I think if we read terms and condition, we know what the app is being used for and what modalities of functions are being created using that data. I think there are two initiatives which are happening. One on this the side of ensuring that the data is well managed. One is this open data platform initiative, which is specifically to link the patient data records across India. Now, it's a big problem. US have already solved it. I mean, we don't have to go to every time an hospital stand in the queues, get ourselves registered, and then say, oh, our number will come in because we have never been to that hospital. I think that is getting initiated with the open data platform, linking all the hospital and patient data records coming together. Second, as we all know that the data privacy bill itself is being tabled. It is subject to the approval of the parliament. It's almost equivalent to the GDPR, but We have put our own definitions around what kind of data treatments needs to be given to account aggregators. Like fintech today are account aggregators, health tech folks are account aggregators. So they are the ones who needs to really be the custodian of the data along with the government. So all these regulations have been put in as part of securing the data. On just the last piece quickly, Anil, on the government application side using AI, trust me, in the last 3 years, I've been involved with many of the state or central government projects. The keenness to embed AI is unprecedented. I've never seen that kind of, I would say, kind of a euphoria about understanding AI and within their own departments and functions, how AI can solve the problems. Of course, we also have to realize, just like judicial problems, these are large, complex, unresolved problems. It will take a lot of what I call sense in terms of first aggregating the data, because the data is all manual, and then we have to build engines and algorithms on top of that. But the effort is very, very concerted and very, very, I would say, sustained from the government side this time.
Thank you. So a question from Vijay from Cyberabad. His question is, on the career side, do you have any career opportunities in AI for those who do not have mathematics and statistics knowledge? I think you covered it briefly. Yeah.
Well, tremendous. As I said, that opportunities in AI differs from industry to industry and function to function. One necessarily should not always think that they need to have a mathematics OR or a statistic background. There are opportunities where clients or stakeholders want to understand a particular value chain of an industry, let's say healthcare, manufacturing, or CPG or retail, and that's where domain experts come into the picture. They sit with the AI experts or algorithm experts or data engineers and build that kind of, let's say, entire use cases. And there is also an industry which is creating, I would say, baby step, but soon it will become a big industry. Labeling and annotation, this thing which I talked about as part of my set of cases, it's a huge industry in China, about $30 billion strong. Our own BPM industry is about $40 billion. But here now the government is trying to take initiatives, and a lot of, yesterday there was a news about Tata tying up with ITIs. Within the ITIs, for the first time, labeling and annotation courses will be launched. And this will ensure our tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities of India will actually train the youth on many of these applications, which will go into making of the best AI algorithms and all.
Great. Thank you. We have Shikhar raising the hand. I'm sending you a prompt unmute. I don't know if you want to speak or type the question. Shikhar, I sent a prompt to, yeah.
Yes, sir. I am here. Sir, I have a very normal question. It is not related to technology at all. As you told about the artificial intelligence, I am someone who is studying into who is into finance, who's studying finance. So I would like to know how I can incorporate. I would say IT or technology, or basically I want to get into artificial intelligence. So where should I start, and how can I incorporate that with what I am doing right now?
So, Shikhar, pertinent to finance, and this is a key question today when we talk about any business function, but specific to finance today, as we realize the processes around invoicing, transactions, regulatory risk, fraud are all being either automated or are going through a channel where AI is getting inbuilt. So, from our understanding of what a fraud anomaly kind of, let's say, transaction can bring to the table, or how automated invoicing or transactions are done, or finding out a new mechanism of credit scoring. These are the new areas what the financial professionals, and I'm just talking about 2 or 3 areas where financial professionals are trying to study the usage of technology, could be AI, could be automation over there. The fact is, if I just put it simply, whatever you're trying to do today, if you look at an end-to-end value chain and look at the possibility what technology can do, you will get an answer. It could be IoT, it could be blockchain, it could be AI. But the moment you see the value chain end to end and you can think of what possibly technology can do, you will get that answer in terms of saying how technology is impacting these functions.
So will it affect that I don't know anything regarding coding or anything?
Well, see, it's not about coding. As I say that when you look at some of these things, you need to understand how. So if there is a problem, let's say you're finding anomaly in the transactions, what should be done to solve that problem? Now, if you pick up that use case and do a Google, you'll get the entire answer. And within that, how an algorithm or a code needs to be created, you need to kind of, you can look at that. You need not go through understanding that technicalities of the code because you may would like to restrict to the business value chain understanding. But this entire process, once you go through, will give an idea. And that's where I said there are opportunities today from a functional domain consultants point of view or knowledge industry point of view who are sitting with the AI experts, coding experts, and building these top-notch solutions for the end clients.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, Uday Uday has topped up with a small comment, which answering both the questions. He says, A hitting with lot of abstraction, hence no need to know maths for a career. It is like no need to know the automobile engineering for driving a car. A is becoming very simple, like using without knowledge is what is behind it. Yeah. Thank you, Uday. Thank you for topping up that comment. So, yeah, one last question before we wind up the session. Yeah, comment from Prakash. I don't know if it's a question. AI is used to map the locust movement across the countries. Even it is used for mapping vectors. I don't think it's a question. It's a comment. Okay. Yeah. Any AI PM participant would like to ask any specific question to Samir, especially on marketing? How AI is getting power empowering the market? Okay, fine. So I think we are good to close the program with a vote of thanks, a formal vote of thanks. I would like to invite Rotarian Mohit to give the vote of thanks.
I'm so sorry. This is Prasad.
Yeah, Prasad Kohli. Yeah, I'm sorry, you were raising the hand. I just missed you. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello,
yeah,
my voice is audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Samir sir. It's really like that what is your session is doing. Just I wanted one question to you. What is the future for that if data is not limited and data is limited? How to tackle that situation when we are doing the, because most of the basis is there ki AI data is required. If data is limited, how to solve that problem?
So how do you get a sense that data is limited? Let me tell you some things around. To distinguish between cat and a dog, how many images do we need? 1, 2 maximum. A machine needs 500,000 images. And today we are talking about not just a cat and a dog. Sometimes a muffin is also construed by the machine as a dog. So think of this, how beautifully the machine needs to be trained, and which is where the possible opportunities to get very highly qualified, trained, curated data sets needs to arise. One thing I definitely agree with you that data sets is the biggest culprit today in terms of making a lot of these issues around algorithms going wrong. Now think of this situation where I say January, February this year, before the COVID wave struck us, every e-tailer or e-commerce retailer was selling more apparels, more kind of, let's say, fashion accessories. Suddenly, when the lockdown happened, the demand for oral hygiene sanitizers went up. Algorithms started drifting and behaving very erratically. And that's why the stockouts happened, inventory got diminished. And somewhere, this whole aspect of training new data sets has to come in. And honestly, we haven't become so strong on machine learning algorithms yet because the data sets are still very young. We are very at an infancy stage. So data to me at this stage will require a lot of, I would say, shades, flavors, and I would say complexities. And it's I would say good 10, 15 years from here before we'll be able to say, oh, data has started now getting limited actually in number.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe Samir, if you're okay, can take one more very quick one. Can AI provide solution for hacking and cyber attacks?
Say that again, Anil, please.
Yeah, can AI provide solution for hacking and cyber attacks?
See, barring solving the equation between relationships, AI can do a lot of things today. Uh, by the way, even the matrimony websites use AI as well. That's a different thing in terms of matchmaking and all those things. But cyber attacks. So, okay. So, on a serious note, the underpinning of cybersecurity as a technology or as a function is algorithm. Malwares, phishing attacks, which are subjected, uh, kind of a thing comes with algorithms, and it's the algorithms within the existing IT systems which are preventing or mitigating those attacks. So first of all, there is already an AI layer built over there, kind of a thing. Now, what is also happening now, there are I want to give an example. Like in my previous to previous firm, uh, we had worked on this data application kind of, let's say, situations. Today there are companies fortune 500,000 who are sitting on tons of legacy applications, 2,000, 3,000 kind of, let's say, of them, and many of them uh, are not being used because, but it's a part of the system, proprietary, so no one knows. So today, AI algorithms are used to see at what point of time automatically these technologies or applications should be in a sunset mode. And that's where the cybersecurity systems are evolving to kind of also prevent that. They need to have all those kind of a precautionary measure before these technologies start doing or behaving rogue. It needs to be sunset. So all these features are part of already inbuilt AI layer as part of the cybersecurity mechanisms today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Samir. So I would now request Rotarian Mohit from club to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Anilji. Good evening, everyone. And Samirji, it was really enlightening, I would like to say. I am not being superficial here. We really felt engrossed, and I am speaking on behalf of all the attendees here. Just to start with, the way you gave the American football example, how the advertising is done, how the AI is impacting the marketing or the advertising part of it, where billions of dollars are invested. I remember when Steve Jobs spent 800,000 for Super Bowl advertisement, and did it make an impact on the overall world? And we all follow Apple from that time. And then you gave examples of deep learning algorithm where we have 99% accuracy. Now I understand why there are numerous logos on football jerseys or any sports that we see, and it does make a tangible impact on the companies who are paying millions of dollars for that. So as you gave an example of even IPL, so a lot of money is involved, and how it is impacting us as a consumer, and also if we want to advertise. And you also covered a lot of aspects related to the healthcare, radiology, that is having definitely a human touch in these trying times. This will definitely help us. And I actually myself had one question, is that, is there anything which AI may not help? But you clarified it with Elon Musk's example where he tweeted about that particular comment. So I think we have um, anywhere engineers or any experts who are working on AI, like you, who are contributing to the society by making those efforts. I think none of any of the aspects of the human society are left to cover or increase the value of any things that we use on a daily basis, and how we can increase the power of communication by resolving the toilet tile to any kind of issues that we may have. The example of a blind person going through and actually visualizing themselves, even if they have not seen a picture, is a prime example of how much that family would have got affected, and that particular person might have got affected by that, and he would definitely contribute more to the society by going through that emotional positiveness of being able to speak and relate to the people who actually can see. The medicine identification example you gave, the manufacturing sector, the sensors which are being used. You use the Japanese bullet train example. That those examples were very touching, and we were really able to relate to them, how we can actually use them. So thank you so much, Samirji, and I would definitely would look forward to anywhere else you are actually speaking, and I would register myself for having more interactive sessions like this. On behalf of everyone from Rotary Club of Secunderabad West and all the attendees, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me over. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you all. Thank you, Samir. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Rotary Club of Cyberabad, AN and the team for making this happen, and the Rotaractors, District 3150. So we'll meet again on December 5th for yet another interesting session. December 1st, the first Saturday of the month, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Emergex version 6.0. Until then, stay safe and goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, Anil. Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Samir. Thank
Excellent
you.
program, Anil garu.
Have a good weekend. Restful weekend.
Rao garu, excellent, sir. Samir garu, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devakar garu. Thank you very much. Samir.
Thanks, Ian.
Super, sir. Baundi program. Rotary Club Warangal, Vijayanath, sir.
Vijayanath garu, we'll do a session together, Andy.
Tapakunda, sir.
Us and Anil.
December 5 నాడు పెడదాం సార్, ఇంకా తర్వాత కానీ.
Absolutely. Anil, thank you.
మా రోడ్ ట్రాక్టర్స్ కూడా వచ్చింది సార్.
Wonderful, Andy. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you, Vaidyanath garu. Thanks, Ian. So we'll close the session now. Bye bye. Bye bye to all. Thank you, Murali. Thank you for all the good work. Bye.